Speaking my heart like it really is, 'cause I can't take another no. I see, I like, I go, I get, no one can hold me back.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another adventure with Dong, my Philippines exploration. And today we have a video that was requested by some of my viewers. They are foreigners, and their question is, which is better? Which do foreigners prefer, and which is much more convenient to live in the Philippines? Would it be the city or would it be province? So today's video, I'm going to be discussing disadvantages and the advantages of living in the city versus the province. But before we get into the video, I can see that 97% of my viewers aren't subscribed to my channel. I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to spread the love and information for those foreigners new to my channel. Just subscribe, hit the button, like, comment, help the channel out. I'm trying to spread the word so that other foreigners can come here and feel comfortable and confident about their experience. So by far, this has got to be one of the toughest topics for me to talk about, because your decision whether to choose the province or the city to live, it really depends on what you want to subject yourself to and your preference as far as living conditions goes. So we already know if you live in a more city environment here in the Philippines, you're definitely going to have a lot of things that people in the province don't have access to, and it's going to determine whether or not you live a comfortable life or not, and that ultimately depends on your preference. Okay, so preference is key, and also you have to think about certain things that are definite things that you will find in the city that you won't find in the province. So I've been glad to say that I lived in both places. I've lived in Cebu, and then I've lived in a small fishing island off the coast of Misamis Oriental, which is between Bohol and Misamis Oriental. So oftentimes I see it a lot of foreigners that are older in age, they get so wrapped up in thought of having a younger, beautiful woman is not so common for them to see or attain in their country. When we get caught up in this, we see this beautiful woman, and then we kind of forget about what we want, what we think we would be comfortable with as far as coming and spending a lot of time in a developing country. So before you do make your decision, and before you do get wrapped up in the whole relationship thing, take some time and do some research and figure out whether the city or the province is right for you, because that will decide whether you like this place, whether you might get tired of it, whether you might love it. Chances are you might love it no matter where you go, but you do need to know about the disadvantages and the advantages of living in either of the two. So one benefit of living in the city versus the province is your access to things. And I know a lot of you foreigners are coming from America or Canada, which, you know, pretty much we are able to get anything we want as far as products, food goes, toiletries, clothes, and really it is a big difference as to what you have access to. So for example, if you live in the city, you have low market areas which you can find your fresh meats, fish, which is locally caught or locally butchered, and you can also find products that are local to the Philippines, the most popular products, which also can be found in province, most of the Filipino products. But there are a few things that you will have trouble finding, and that would be certain ingredients that you will not find in a province, like a good quality beef or ground beef, or for example a good quality hot dog. Other things you can't find would be like your chain food products. You won't find certain things when it comes time to go shopping. When I came here, I was so surprised that I couldn't find a good quality steak, and you know, us Americans, you know, we love steak. I came to the province, and although they had beef, they had pork, they had chicken, hell, they even had goat, but I couldn't find a good quality beef. Most of the time it tastes very gamey, and let's say even the ground beef, if you wanted to make a hamburger, you'll find out that once you cook that beef, it's incredibly dry. So oftentimes you will find yourself mixing some kind of fat in there. Maybe you can mix some pork into the ground beef. So that is a few things that you will not find in the province, and it is mostly food products and ingredients. Another thing that is a big benefit of living in the city versus the province is the access to medical treatment, and at the standard in which they hold really high here in the country. So a good quality hospital with everything you may need, if you needed a CAT scan, if you needed an ultrasound, You're going to find that in the city, in the hospitals there. They have most of the time all of these diagnostics machines in case you run into some issues or some health problems here. And that is one of the biggest things you want to consider if you're going to live in the Philippines. In general, the medical system. So the medical system is not going to be like what you're used to back home. It's going to be definitely a little bit more on a developing side. And I've learned that firsthand. I've been to the hospital a few times here, nothing major, just, me being a mitochondriac. If I have a cut, then I really think I'm dying. If you go to the hospital here, expect that it's not going to be the same as what you experience back home. And if you live in the province, expect that it's not going to be the same as if you lived in the city. Also, certain medications that you may need may not be at your access in the province. Most of you guys coming to the Philippines are middle-aged or even a little bit older. So that is something that you really want to consider. Unlike me, I'm still in my 30s, so I don't really run into a lot of issues, and I don't have any pre-existing conditions, thank God. But a lot of you guys do. It will force you to head back home. Why would you want to go back home? You don't want to go back home. You want to stay here. Before you do decide to come here, make sure you get your medical endeavors lined up, and make sure you get your prescriptions lined up. And if you have insurance through retirement, if you're a veteran, make sure that most of them are accepted here in the country. And oftentimes, if you do live in the city, you're going to find different hospitals. You're going to find community health clinics. But if you live in the province, oftentimes, or most of the time, you're only going to find maybe one major hospital, and that's going to serve for thousands of people. So in this time right now, everything that's happening, you can imagine how hectic this could be as far as the staff in the hospital go. They're dealing with a lot of things right now, plus the people that are already coming in with pre-existing conditions. Definitely for me, one of the biggest differences from city to province is the medical system. Third biggest difference would be lifestyle in general. So the quality of life in general. You can definitely have a better quality life living in the province for a few different reasons. And my reason number one is definitely the people. The people tend to be a lot more laid back and actually more enticed to talk to you if you're a foreigner. You're going to be in a small community, and living in the province, most of the time the crime is lower. Much lower. I mean, honestly, I could leave my door unlocked. The place that I live in now, it's a small province of 89,000 residents, and I've been here for 3 years. I haven't even seen an altercation. You can actually live peaceful here. It's quiet. You just mainly hear roosters and a lot of the sounds of nature, which is something so peaceful. Next big difference for me, and from what I've noticed, living in the city versus the province, how you're able to live off the land. For thousands of years, the Filipinos been living off of the land and being very resourceful. So if you live in the city, you're not going to have access to a lot of this. Here, I'll show you guys an example. One of the benefits of living in the province and how you can live off the land. And this is very important because a lot of times foreigners come here and they have a Filipina that owns a big piece of land. Maybe her family owns a big piece of land, and the land comes with a bunch of coconut trees, different fruit trees, different trees that you can ultimately harvest and sell. These are things that you want to consider because you can't do this in the city. You can ultimately see here a primitive Filipino way of baking. You come over here, we have coconuts, right? So these are harvested coconuts. So on this land, there is about 3,000 coconut trees, and pretty much what they do with this coconut is they harvest it every 3 to 4 months. They harvest it and then they make it into a coal. Okay, so what is the coal good for? The coal is good for cooking, obviously. So in the Philippines, a very famous type of cooking is barbecue. They sell it, they love it, they eat it. Barbecue, anything barbecue. Okay, so this here, you can see they were baking the coconut shell, and pretty much the coconut shell is what will be the coal after they bake it. And then the white part, which is what we use in America to bake, is actually used to make soap and coconut oil. So these things you cannot do in the city. You cannot harvest your own coconut in the city. I mean, yeah, if you have a coconut tree, by any means you can, but you know, you can't have 2,000 coconut trees on the land. I mean, this is a huge land here, and you could do that if you're living here and you harvest your coconuts every 3 to 4 months. Some people can make up to 20,000 pesos in that harvest. So you can see right off the bat that living in the province has its benefits. Another thing that's a big benefit from living in the city versus the province is the entertainment. The different things you can do in the city that you cannot do in places you cannot go if you live in the province. Okay, so if you live in the city, you have a lot of bars, different karaoke places you can go and meet people, and obviously the dating scene in the city would be much more abundant than in the province. So if you do plan to do that, you do plan to, and you care about the quality of food, and you know, you want to keep it as close to standards are in your country, then you stay in the city. And that brings me to my next point. My next point is the quality of woman you can find versus in the city versus the province is kind of a big gap in between. In the province, you're gonna get a much more quality woman, and you're gonna get a woman, maybe that woman is a house girl. She's just stays home and cleans and, you know, maintains the yard and is very reserved. She doesn't wear a lot of skimpy clothes versus those city girls. They will wear a lot of skimpy clothes, and they go out on the weekends with their friends and drink and bond. You know, that's just something, depends on if you like or not. That's something if you do like. I honestly, I prefer, like I always tell you guys, I prefer a province girl, somebody that's more reserved, somebody that you can ultimately trust 100% and be confident that that girl's not gonna screw you over or have a boyfriend on the side here when you go back home. So guys, these are the things that I've noticed that are much different from living in the city versus the province. You know, these are very important to us, especially us Americans and Canadians. We really care about the things that will make us comfortable, and some of us are willing and are able to adapt, like myself. I'm able to adapt to a province life. I'm able to use a towel to take a bath. I'm not bougie, I'm not picky like a lot of foreigners can be. You don't want to leave a city to come to a city. Experience the other side of living in this country. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining me. If you are new to my channel, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share with your friends. If you have other foreigner friends that want to come here, you can share my content with them. I always come out with videos twice a week. Help the channel out. I'm trying to spread the word so that other foreigners can come here and feel comfortable and confident about their experience and living in this country.